What is going on YouTube? This is DBZ439 coming at you with my 4th place Vanquish Soul deck profile at the Houston Regionals out of 420 players. I'm super proud of myself. I went X1, so 9 rounds, only lost to 1 match, and only lost because I misplayed, unfortunately. But very quickly, I'm just going to go over my matchups, and if you guys feel free, if you guys don't want to really hear about all that, and just skip to the deck profile, but you know, you can get some really good knowledge from this. Round 1, I played against Voiceless. I beat that person 2-1. And I will say that in terms of the die rolls, I won my first 4, lost my next 4, then won my very last die roll. And in this duel, like, I bricked game 2. Like, I went Mad Love Beatdown. That was how bad my hand was. I just kept drawing hand traps and, you know, just swinging with Mad Love, trying to recover with, you know, the Link, Rock with the Vanquisher, and it got to the point where, you know, he finally got to a starter, and he beat me, and then, you know, it went into time, or game 3, you know, time was running out. I just Borger burned him, and so next round, I played against Snake Eyes. I 2-1'd him. Just letting you know, Shifter is just a broken card. So that's how I pretty much won that match. And then I lost my round 3 against Horus Centurion. The deck is actually very powerful. I don't have too many answers to Centurion in my main deck, or at least in my deck in general. And so I could have won against Centurion. The way you beat them is that you got to make sure your first interaction against Centurion is the right one, and then you can play correctly, placing the monster in the right column to make the interruption, or popping with Valius, at least tagging out, because you could tag out during the interactions, and I failed to do so in game 3 and lost because of it. Round 4, I played against a Buster Blader, like Bystial, Kashtira player, and I 2-0'd him real quick. And the next 2 matches I played against Fire King Snake Eyes, I 2-0'd both of them. I think I did something along the lines of hand trapping them in the form of Shifter, Imperm, and stuff, and they weren't able to set up their board while I was able to set up my board. That was the theory behind my deck, was like when I go first, I set up a board, you know, if I have Fenrir, Rock of the Vanquisher, Jiaolong, and set Snow Devil with like a bunch of cards in hand and pass. And the idea behind that is really good because, you know, you can play around Nibiru, and like Droll's not in the format anymore, and so like because of that, like this deck can like search, you know, without any worries and stuff like that. And that board itself is very, very like sticky. They could try to board break you, and like evenly Lightning Storm and stuff. You can play around every board breaker. Hand traps is a very interesting thing, because like if they try to Veil or Imperm you can just tag out with like Borger, Valius, dodge so many things, Moonlit Chill. They try to do all these things, and the fact that you can just dodge and just interact so well with hand traps, that you're just hand looping them pretty much, and then you're getting so much advantage. It's very hard for, I don't care if they're playing Snake Eyes as a tier 0 deck, for them to play through your board is actually pretty tough. You summon Razen is able to like pop something, and then they try to go further. You Snow Devil, blow up the board, Fenrir, banish stuff, and then a Valius summon, pop another card, and then your cards can't be destroyed by card effects. A lot of people try to use Promethean Princess to destroy my cards, but since my Snow Devil protects from card effect destruction, like I was able to stick. So those 2 rounds 5 and 6, played against Fire King Snake Eyes, 2-0'd both. And the Centurion Lightsworn, this was really funny. At the game 1, he sets 1 monster defense, pass, and I'm just, you know, I'm really happy. I OTK'd him, and then game 2 actually went to time, and then I just had more life points than him. Going into round 8, played against Brandon, my first Brandon matchup, and I catered my deck to beat the Brandon matchup and like Labyrinth and stuff, like all these like random decks, because like I worry about those matchups, you know. And so game 1, I shifted, Impermed, ashed him, and like, you know, he ends up on a little lackluster board. But then my only cards in my hand was like Fenrir, Borger, and like a Snow Devil, and I actually had full Snow Devil setup, and that wasn't enough to beat him game 1. Game 2, I bricked. I opened 2 Borger, 1 Durendal, and 2 Dimensional Barrier. We'll talk about Durendal as you know, as I get into the profile. But I said 2 D barriers have passed, and those two D barriers and my top deck into Razen were good enough to beat him in game 2. And I thought this one would be X2, and then game 3, I shifted, Impermed him, He sets on Droplet, a brand new fusion set off of Thrust, and a Blazing Cartesia with 2 cards in hand. And, I mechanically broke his entire board, set the Imperm where the brand new fusion column was, and he wasn't able to beat me. So that was game 3. So now into the final round, played against Kashtira Snake Eyes. Thankfully, I won the die roll. And I will say games 1 and 3, I opened the most broken hands you can possibly. I even told the guys, like, bro, if you could break through this entire board with my hand traps and all that stuff, like, congrats to you. Like, you deserve to, be a top 8 player. But he was able to crack through my board. And in game 3, like, it went into time. I Borger burned him prior to giving it to his turn. And because of the time pressure and stuff like that, he was able to play through my board. And I couldn't even get to the battle phase. And so, that was all 9 rounds, and, very happy with the performance. I would say out of, like, these 24, 27 duels or whatever, I bricked 3 or 4 times. So I have to go back into the lab and try to figure out how to fix it and stuff like that. I will say I have 12 ways to get to Razen, which is an 85% chance of opening a Razen, and the math supports it because I did brick 3-4 times, which is like 15% not opening the Razen. I wasn't able to play. I did manage to win, I think, a couple of those duels, but yeah, anyways, that's enough talking. I know you guys are really interested in the deck profile, and so, we'll go ahead and start with the main deck here, starting with a double Valius. I know a lot of people are on 3, or not a lot of people, but the trend now is that people are playing 3 of this, and I see the argument. I tested it. I like it, but the problem is I needed to dedicate other deck slots to, like, other things. Like, in terms of utility, because the idea is, like, going second in Yu-Gi-Oh! Today is really hard, especially in the Tier 0 format Snake Eyes. You need to be able to have all the hand traps to, like, stop them and then play. And the problem with this deck, there's not a 1-card starter, unfortunately. Like a one-card combo. Like, you need multiple things to, like, make the engine going, and once the engine goes, then, you're able to break boards and stuff like that. So I ended up playing only 2. I did test 3. 3 felt okay, but the thing is, like, you brick sometimes, right? So if you open a hand, like, going second with 2 Valius and, like, a Borger and your 2 other cards are hand traps, like, you can't play the game, you know what I'm saying? And so I think 5 was the sweet number, but I'm still going to test moving forward, maybe to add 1 more. But next, we played double Jiaolong. You can actually get away with playing only 1 of him, actually, because we run a sufficient amount of fire monsters. If you play it correctly. However, there are times where you just need to search the other Jiaolong, like in grind games, or you just need to have the other fire attribute while he's on the field or in the graveyard. So that's why but he's pivotal in terms of, setting up your board going first, because you search turn 1, and then you search on their turn, right? So it's a double searcher, and you just hand looping people, honestly, because if they're hand trapping you and stuff, like, they're at a disadvantage, and then you just search on their turn with this, or the Rock of the Vanquisher. If they interact on your turn, fine, you just interact again with Rock of the Vanquisher on their turn. So really good. Next, we played triple Borger, my personal favorite Vanquish Soul monster. This card is absolutely crazy. The fact that it can tag out, dodge stuff, it's huge. By itself, it does like 5,500 damage if you burn. It's an upstart goblin. It just won me so many duels in games. A lot of my duels went to game 3. And in time situations, like the 15 burn comes up so much. Like, I can make an argument that Vanquish Soul is one of the best decks in time because of this card solely and the Snow Devil. So that gives a major advantage, especially because both decks are trying to combo in the forms of, like, Snake Eyes and us. And, like, we go to game 3 a lot. And so, like, the burn comes up a lot. So yeah, next we do play triple Razen. Obviously, the best card in the deck, being able to search, destroy stuff in the column, amazing facilitator. We got 12 ways to search him. That's enough about Razen. I think the thing that I made a lot of changes and compared to other Vanquish Soul lists is that I only play 1 Mad Love, and obviously I'm in the 1 Pantera. I use every single one of the effects of the Vanquish Soul monsters besides Pantera's effect to destroy by battle, which you can use actually against a Tenpai player, and if you're on the Snow Devil, it can't be destroyed by card effect. That's come up in testing. That's something neat that you can do. But anyways, I play only 1 Mad Love, and I think this is very important to understand as a Vanquish Soul player, because of the fact that you need to dedicate other slots to maybe get to Razen faster, or hand traps or other utility cards. You only need one Man Love, and the reason is because of the Sacred Soul, of course. You know, you need a target for Borger or to search the Snow Devil. But once you search the Snow Devil, what you primarily want to do with your Jiaolong, so Mad Love is useless. So opening multiple copies of that, opening Continue, Snow Devil, all these cards going second, like, doesn't really have that much value. And you need to have value when you're trying to break a board or set up your own board, and especially going second. I mean, going first, you don't have a problem really, because you set up your board with the Snow Devil and stuff, but when you open a hand with like a Borger, 2 Valius Caesars, and like a Continue, what is that going to do for you? And then like Continue also conflicts majorly with Shifter, and then the arguments like, oh, what about grind game and stuff? Like, the deck naturally by itself is a great grind game. Like, you run enough names and stuff like that. The Rock of the Vanquisher also helps you with the grind game, so there's never a need for me to play cards like Continue, which also opens up a lot of extra deck slots, which never really came up anyways. So yeah, that's my argument for only playing the one Mad Love, not any of the other spells. Moving on to the hand traps, we do have the triple shifter. I would say this card came up 40% of the time. I think that's the accurate number. I mean, the odds of you opening shifter is like 33%, I believe. But every time I drop shifter, I won. I'm pretty sure every time I drop shifter, I won, whether it was going first or second. The card is absolutely crazy. This does not need to get banned. All the people who are saying they're getting banned are all the Snake Eye players that lose to it. It's amazing because it's a dark, so even if it's in your hand, you can use it as a dark attribute, you know, to resolve your Vanquish Soul cards. You can use like Nightmare Phoenix to pitch it off. There is a card I considered playing, which was Small World, which I may incorporate later in my future deck list, and you can Small World this away. So yeah, next we do play Triple Ash. I like and dislike this card. I like it because obviously it's a fire and Ash is Ash, but in the Snake Eye matchup, it's pretty bad because like they're going to have extenders more than likely. And then you give them fodder for Hida, and that came up. And so, like, but you need to have Ash, obviously. You know, it's just great matchup spread and whatnot, and being a fire. The next cards I'm about to show you, Belle and Magnamhut, barely came up, unfortunately. Like, they didn't really put in that much work. As you can see from my matchups, like, they weren't that effective. I barely saw them, so I did side them out quite a bit. So these might move to the side. And then Magnamhut also conflicts with Fenrir. That was another issue I was having. But the fact that it can search Valius Caesars is crazy. But it's mostly for like the Brandon matchup, Labyrinth matchup, and then there's one more matchup I can't remember. Even Tempai, like you can use this to like, you know, do some things, but it's not the strongest. Yeah, there's only one more matchup I'm missing that's Belle's really good against, but yeah. Anyways, so moving forward, I'll probably just move this into the side deck. Next, we do play the one Riseheart, triple Fenrir. I think this was the MVP throughout the entire tournament. Fenrir put in so much work, whether it's putting on pressure because in a simplified game state, when you hand trap people, whoever has Fenrir is most likely going to win. Generating so much advantage, whether I needed to search a Riseheart or the Kashtira Fenrir itself to, you know, search for attributes is really good. Yeah, that's it about Fenrir. And then we played the one Snow Devil. The main reason why I play the deck, Snow Devil is just crazy. Being able to burn, you know, for time, and then blowing up the board, and making your board stick. I think that's really important. So you can play around everything. The one thing that you can't really play around, which there is a combo line where you can play around Droll, which is not in the format, which is another reason why I felt that Vanquish Soul is a really strong contender right now, is because Droll is on the format. And so this is really good. And then obviously for another hand traps, we do play 3 Imperm. Yeah, Imperm is not an attribute card, but it's just that strong. And the idea, here's the argument, right? It's like going second, you're using your hand traps. So like the attribute thing, the attribute argument is like, okay, yeah, sure, is when you go first. And then we put a lot of cards to help us go first in the side deck, and you'll see. But yeah, Imperm put in a lot of work. Then we play a triple Prosperity. Some people have been testing Upstart, Desires, Extravagance, all these cards, and throughout a lot of testing, Prosperity is king from all those cards. So I'm glad I was able to figure that out. Prosperity searches whatever you need, whether it's a form of a board breaker. There were times where I had full setup, and then I just Prosperity to like an Ash or Imperm just to further solidify my board and stuff. So Prosperity is just amazing. One Pressure Planet. Before, I never played this card because I never had access to it, but this was amazing. I felt like a lot of my duels I did open Fenrir, and Fenrir did secure me a lot of games. So I actually do play the one Rhoda to search the Razen, and then one Call by the Grave. This was a flex spot. This, for the love of God, I was thinking, like, what should I play? Small World for consistency, or maybe another Valius, but I ended up playing Callback because of how powerful it is. We are in a hand trap format. You don't always open your big guys, so if they do ashing the first thing, like, is very problematic because if you don't have a follow-up or extension, like, you're screwed. So Call by the Grave helps you secure that. Yeah, and then, and another thing I wanted to mention was Small World. So the thing is, I like and dislike Small World because Small World is a neg 1, right? That's the problem, because you need to have as many cards as possible. But if I were to up it from 12 to 13 to get to Razen, it's only a 2% bump. So it's from 85% to 87%. So I didn't feel the 2% warranted a spot. But I might increase it to 14. We'll see moving forward. But next we do play Triple Staker Soul, which is basically the utility of the deck. And finally we do play the 2 Durendal. Durendal is a love and hate relationship because there were times when I did say I bricked because I didn't have a monster on my side of the field to resolve Durendal going first. And then going second, I usually sided out one copy because it is a hard once per turn, and drawing 6 cards gives you a better chance of opening Razen. This is an even 40 card deck. And so yeah, we'll go to the side deck here real quick. Retaliating Sea. This card never came up all tournament, unfortunately. I felt like this was my spice card on my side deck. Not only is it an earth, it can be a body on field to link climb to stuff. But this is really good against a lot of matchups like Runic, Pirelli, Branded. It comes up in the Snake Eye matchup because if they OSS, you can chain it to this, and then they use a lot of resource to get rid of it. But it's very you're gambling at that point. It does come up. Did I side against the Snake Eye matchup? No, because I had other answers to it. So. Cards that barely came up. Duster never came up once. Thrust came up a couple of times. Me getting to an evenly match or setting an imperm. Ideally, I wanted to use Thrust to set other cards I'm about to show you. Duster never came up, and then their Columbian came up only one duel, but at that point, I was so far ahead against the Snake Eye player. The idea is, okay, they go Snake Eye Ash, search the Poplar, attempt to activate Poplar effect, flip, there can only be one. It just makes their lines really weird. They can't Oak and stuff like that, and then Oak to revive and all that stuff. So they can play around it for sure, but it's just another card to throw at them. Then 3 different dimension grounds. I think this is another card that's a spicy tech that can be searched off of Thrust as well, because you need to have a card to help you go first against Snake Eyes. And this is just you play 7 copies of Shifter, right? Shifter, this 3, and then Thrust. There's 7 copies of Shifter, so it's almost a guaranteed turn skip. If they Cosmic Cyclone, you can chain. That's why I didn't like cards like Skilled, other Floodgates and stuff, because if they Lightning Storm or Evenly you, this is a guarantee to resolve to go through. So. Different Dimension Grounds put in a lot of work. It is also good against other matchups as well. Next, we do play Triple D-Berry. This came up a couple of times, especially against the Brandon matchup. I think a lot of people are just on D-Barrier regardless, of how good it is, so not much to explain there. And I think the MVP of my side deck truly was Evenly Match. I did resolve this card probably 4 times, and every time I resolved it is really good, even against the Snake Eye player, because what happens is you evenly the Snake Eye player, and then they end on one card that does nothing for them ultimately, or they have no monsters on field, so they can't even Promethean Princess you. So you set up your entire board. Even if they get follow up, who cares? Because now they have to play into your board at the cost of 1 card. For me to do that, to skip my battle phase, who cares? I'll set up my board. They'll try to play through my board, and they won't be able to. So that was the idea behind Evenly Match. It just has a great matchup spread. So yeah, that was my side deck. I would make modifications, probably put Belle, maybe take out Retaliating Sea. I don't know. I have to go back in the lab. I know info's coming out soon, so there's gonna have to be a lot of changes. Now for my extra deck, the thing that barely went into, which is just so funny. Obviously, we went to Rock of the Vanquisher. I only went to him twice, never 3 times. So there's an argument you can cut one if you really want to, but that you're just playing with fire because he's the main thing that you go into. So not much to explain here. A lot of people, for some reason, try to like imperm and like effect Veiler on summon or Moonlit Chill, and they just don't read the cards and it's a quick effect, so you just chain, so you just hand loop them. Now all these cards I'm about to show you never went into. The idea is like you can make this with one card with Razen, because Razen then. Razen searches Jiaolong, and the Jiaolong summons itself to go Hida to Princess, and then to this guy, just as like a last resort kind of thing. And then when Promethean Princess comes out, you can you can summon the Razen, and then Razen searches, and then if you really need to, link away to Nightmare Phoenix, or tribute summon for like a Valius Caesar, and then just get out of your lock, which is, the next 2 cards. Hida, Nightmare Phoenix never came up. SP Little never came up. Next, we play Exciton and Baguska. There are some lines where you can go rank 4, where it's like Pantera, then you normal summon another level 4, or you normal summon Razen, then you stake your soul into another level 4. These cards never came up. Ultimately, all just prosperity banishes. But these level 7s do come up. These didn't come up in the tournament, but does in testing. This came up once to blow up stuff, and then you can link this away for SP to remove another card. So that's pretty cool. This puts pressure on time. So, like, if you only open Fenrir, you can go Fenrir into the Riseheart into this, and then this card can't be destroyed by card effects. So, applying it to Flare Metal is just really hard in time situations. And this is a great card for Zeus. Like, you can make this against, like, Fire King and stuff, and it's Riseheart's underneath it, so, like, it can't be destroyed. Voiceless is pretty good. And so, you swing, and then you go into Zeus. And I never went to Zeus once, but Typhon I did go a couple of times. Typhon's really good in desperate situations, or just to clear extra stuff, especially like in the Brandon matchup or something like that. Even in the Snake Eye matchup, because it turns off Flamberge and stuff, so you have to go to like battle phase, and then it gives you another turn. So that was it for the deck profile. No, I talked a lot. Usually I don't, but if you guys have any questions or anything like that, please post it on the comment section below. I try my very best to read all the comments and respond to the best of my ability. Once again, thank you for watching, and have a great rest of the day.